Hello YouTube! Today is pretty much a special day for me. So I don't feel like eating a lot for lunch today. Plus I want to make my video a little bit short for today. So the special ingredient we have today is oysters in a shell. Now let's prepare this dish. Alright, now let's start with the introductions of these oysters. First and foremost, I have to clarify this. This is not live oysters. These are actually frozen grade oysters and should not be compared between live and frozen grade. But these oysters are actually known as sashimi grade oysters and they are actually from Korea. You see, the main importers of oysters to Malaysia is usually from China and Korea. And these oysters is actually known as sashimi grade oysters from Korea. Live oysters are actually difficult to manage. You really need to get an oyster tank. When you buy live oysters, you need to buy live oysters with the whole shell, and there's a lot of tedious work. So 5-star hotels, maybe 3-star also possible. These hotels, they really need to cater to the mass market, and it's actually a really tedious task to shuck open an oyster over and over again at a buffet restaurant. So a lot of these hotels, which is actually, the truth is not recommended for you to do that, but people do it anyways. They take this kind of sashimi grade oysters and serve it in their buffet line. I'm not really sure if this is sashimi grade or not, but I do know that a lot of hotels, they actually do supply this in their buffet restaurants, and well, Malaysians are kinda hardy, so well, Malaysians really have their really strong immune system, and then no one seems to get hurt out of it. But I'm not really going to say it's safe to eat. And I'm not gonna eat this as raw oysters as of today. The size of these oysters is actually known as 12 cm up. It's almost the size of my hands, and some of the oysters actually has really small meat and some of the oysters really have large meat. So there's pretty much nothing to say about it, but I'm gonna squeeze in some lemon, add a little bit Tabasco sauce. Dear YouTube, if you suddenly get your hands on these sashimi grade oysters, please do not do what I'm about to do right now. Oh, it's actually quite nice though. It's watery, it tastes very watery. The oyster flavor doesn't really feel as much as live oysters, and it feels a little bit more hearty compared to live oysters, and it's a bit more chewy, that's for sure. Okay, I have to admit that was kind of refreshing. So the brand of this oyster is actually from a company in Korea called Marisol Incorporated, but I don't really know much about this company, so you can Google it. So what am I going to do with these oysters right now? I'm not gonna eat it as raw oysters. Just one of it is enough for me. So what am I gonna do? I want to use this to make barbecue oysters. So I'm going to barbecue it with 4 different types of sauce. First one is an Italian pesto sauce, which I'll put my own touch in it. The second one is some Nyonya chili sauce. Third one is a mushroom soy sauce. And the last one is the common one, cheese cream sauce. So here we go. The first thing you need to do is to shuck every single oyster manually. I wish I had a smaller knife though. Shucking the oyster one by one. Shucking done. Now this is almost all the ingredients I need to make all the sauces. Now I'm going to start by making the pesto sauce, and I'll be needing my mortar and pestle for this. So now let's get this started. Now we are going to start by making the Italian pesto sauce with my touch in it. I'm going to start with some sweet basil leaves, a dash of garlic, roasted cashew nut, some lemon juice, a dash of lemon zest, olive oil, black pepper, and some salt. So what's next is just some pounding. Alright, Italian pesto done. To To start making the mushroom soy sauce, I'm gonna start by chopping quite a number of garlic. Chopped garlic, done. Next up, we have our mushrooms. Straw mushrooms to be exact. I don't think we need to use a knife or anything for this, but oh well, I'm gonna use around this much. Probably split off around this much for here. That's all. And now we're gonna start making the mushroom soy sauce. So I'm gonna start by heating up some oil, and then I'm going to start frying garlic till it's dark brown. The garlic's starting to turn brown. When it turns brown, I'm gonna put in all the sauces and everything. Here, I'm gonna add in some water. Fish sauce. Chinese wine. Thick soy sauce. Light soy sauce. Maggi seasoning. And sugar. And last but not least, my mushrooms. I'm going to cook the mushrooms only halfway here because I'll be barbecuing the mushrooms together with the oysters later on. So it doesn't really need to be cooked that much. Plus, these mushrooms actually cook in a really fast way anyway, so yeah. For our Asian spicy Nyonya sauce, we'll be actually using the mortar and pestle again. I'm going to start with some fresh chilies, shallots, garlic, roasted belacan, just a little bit of turmeric, dry chili soaked in hot water and deseeded, a small bit of salt, and lots of sugar, maybe about 2 teaspoons I guess. I'm going to use olive oil here, but in most cases you probably need to use cooking oil to save money. Any oil will do because the flavor of this thing is really strong. So I'm going to start pounding. I'm going to cry later. Alright, Nyonya sweet chili sauce, done. I'm going to dice a quarter of an onion. Diced onions, done. That's all I'll be needing for my cream sauce. Last but not least, I'm going to start making my cream sauce. I'm going to start with some butter. Now that the butter is melted and a little bit hot, I'm going to add in my onions. Diced onions to be exact. The sauce is going to be a really simple cream sauce, and I'm going to top it up with cheese. So I sweated the onions just by a little. It's time for me to put in my heavy cream. So next step, chicken powder, Parmesan cheese, and done. That's all. And there you have it. I have 4 sauces ready to be put on top of the oysters before I put it on the barbecue. But I have to admit, it's kind of windy out there. I'm not even sure if it's going to rain, but I'm going to start the barbecue anyways. So now let me count. How many oysters do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Okay, I'm going to divide it by 4. This means I have to make 3 of each flavors. So now here we go. I'm going to dress up each of the oysters. 3 of each. Let's see. Hello YouTube. Alright. My original plan was to actually barbecue this outside my house, but unfortunately it is drizzling with rain right now. Talk about divine intervention. So I'm gonna say this. YouTube, do not barbecue inside your house. It's getting really hot here, so I'm gonna start by barbecuing just 1 flavor of each pieces. 1 flavor of cream. 1 flavor of mushrooms. Alright. Alright. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll make it 2 flavors of each. Alright, whatever. I'll just fill it to the max. So now I'm gonna add in some cheddar cheese on top of my cheese, on top of my cream sauce. Okay. And now we wait. The oyster seems to be moving in a very good direction. I'm going to give this a little cracking. Okay, just small amount of cracking will do. Okay, I guess some of the oysters are done because the heat is actually concentrated on the middle. So I'm going to remove this. Obviously this is done. Oh, okay. Today's cooking session is definitely a lot of work. Making 4 different sauces, taking a video and recording everything you do at the same time, that is a really exhausting work. So, right now, I want to say this. This thing better be worth it, really. So, where should I start first? The most appetizing among all, I think it's going to be the cheese. But I have to say it's pretty much common. A lot of people actually serve this cheese baked oysters all around. But this is not cheese baked. This is cheese barbecue. So, let's take a look. Wow! So good! I'm gonna technically self praise again because it's full of cheese flavor in my mouth. Now, the next. Wondering what this is gonna taste like. So this is the mushroom oyster and with the soy sauce on top. So let's see what this is gonna taste like. The Chinese wine, the sweetness of the soy sauce, and the mushroom really gives the oyster a very nice texture. I can recommend this. Alright, next, Nyonya sweet sauce with some fresh chopped onions on top. Let's see what it tastes like. Wow! So good! So spicy, so sweet, so thick. It's mostly coming out from the chili flavor, so the chili actually covers everything on the oyster. So this is technically self-praise again. Now, let's see the first sauce I made today. Okay, let's see. Pesto sauce with some cashew nut on top, but there's cashew nut inside anyway, so the flavor really synchronizes. No, it doesn't really synchronize. It synchronizes, but it kind of overpowers the oyster flavor. I'm gonna give my judgment on what I feel, which oyster actually tastes the best to me. Number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4. Whew. This is definitely a lot of work for a very small amount of food. It's more or less like an appetizer. Well then, I'm gonna end this review now while I finish this meal. Whew, that was satisfying. A really satisfying meal. On today's episode, we have 1 piece of raw oyster, which is not supposed to be eaten as raw oysters in the first place, but oh well, and 4 different flavors of barbecue oysters. And I have to say that's really a satisfying dish. Overall, if you ask me, I can say that the mushroom soy sauce oyster is definitely the most delicious. It's self-praise, yes, I know, but I can say that the mushrooms, when you combine it with the oysters, it really synchronizes. It gives the oyster a really nice texture. Technically, I love eating straw mushrooms anyways. So yeah. As for the cheese baked oyster, I mean, it's pretty much common. You can actually see people selling cheese baked oyster just about everywhere. The pesto sauce is definitely not as strong as the sweet chili, but it's also good in its own way. And last one, the chili, it's a little bit too strong, but I suppose some people can actually like it. So if you ever get your hands on this kind of oyster through any possible means, I would recommend you to go for barbecue oysters. And that's the end of my review for the Korean sashimi grade oysters. I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.